Hello there, and welcome to We're Talkin' Sports, hosted by Ben Burns, Richie Donnell, and Brett Burke. I am back 7 the lifeless robot. My only function is to introduce the show. That is all I have to say. Enjoy.
Welcome everybody to another episode of We're Talkin' Sports. Ben Burns here with Richie Donnell and Brett Burke. Right now, Richie's big screen. We're trying something new. I don't know if you two probably can't see it, but what I wanted to do is the one who's like talking right now, like gets the big screen. But it's not working right now. We just have Richie, his giant face. So, but we'll see how it works. Hopefully, it'll be fine. But instead of just having 2 or 3 small squares, who knows? Right. But we have a lot to talk about. NBA specifically, the draft came and went. Free agency's going to come up. Since we uploaded, we're going to upload this July 1st, so free agency's going on right now. A lot to talk about. Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to get started with, I wanted to end on the NBA with as much as that topic's going to cover. But one of the few things that people are always excited about is watching the young guys play, and this is that time for professional baseball right now, as they have announced the Futures Game roster, which is kind of a big deal in baseball, where they have the U.S. versus the world. And what gets me really excited is the fact that between the two teams, there's going to be 3 Brewers representing the roster, Lewis Brinson and Corey Ray, and Brett's favorite, Mauricio Dubon, for the world team that came over in that Travis Shaw trade. But from a Futures Game standpoint, Brett, I mean, what do you think? I mean, what is the value of this game for people that might not necessarily have watched it before?
Yeah, so I think, it was either last year or 2 years ago, that's the game that kind of put Yoan Moncada on everybody's radar. He went 2 for 2, hit a home run at Minute Maid Park when the game was in Houston, and it really gives those guys a chance like Brinson, Dubon, and Ray, guys that aren't necessarily known outside of their market, a chance to really get their name into the spotlight. I saw something that said it's 27 of the top 100 prospects are in this game. So they try to get the best prospects, but they also take the guys that are playing the best right now. Right. So guys there's a lot.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. being one. Yeah.
So there's like the guy for the Yankees last night that was the number 8 prospect for the Yankees. He ended up rupturing his patellar tendon. He might have been a guy that, had he not been called up, would be in this game. So it's things like that, but still a great crop of talent, a place where you have your best chance of seeing a future major league starter.
Yeah, and not only that, but I was looking at the roster and I just kept going through my head all the names, and a lot of these names actually come back to your favorite team, Boston. You look at Michael Kopech is going to be playing in this game, a former Boston prospect. Rafael Devers, who is currently in Boston, is going to be on this team. Mauricio Dubon, who is formerly in Boston, is going to be playing. Yoan Moncada is going to be in this game. All former Boston prospects.
You could have made up all those names for all I know. Jimmy Alberto is
you know Vladimir Guerrero though, right, Ben?
I do know.
There you go. His son is going to be in this one.
I figured.
But I mean, that speaks wonders to Boston. But like I said, having 3 Brewers in this game, I can't remember the last time a Brewer even participated in this game, which shows really good things considering they're sitting in first place right now for the division with 3 players who could possibly end up becoming everyday starters within the next year, basically participating.
Something that me and you have talked about a lot off the show is how bad some of the players they expected to play have struggled, mainly Jonathan VR. And so Dubon could be the guy that fills in for VR. Dubon, I mean, his average has dropped a little bit, but he's still hitting 300.
He just got promoted to AAA.
Yeah, so he's now, his batting average and power is going to go up because he's in Colorado.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if you see a guy like him in the majors this August if the Brewers are still making a push.
Yeah. Ben, to get onto another topic of baseball, one that you'll have a little familiarity with, you had brought up the NFL had released their like top players of who their top players were in the league. ESPN just did the same thing for professional baseball, and I wrote down the top 5 names just to kind of get both of your perspectives as maybe a guy who's not necessarily as involved in baseball and a diehard baseball fan. But starting at 5, they went with Chris Sale, who's having a lights out year. The one that really shocked me that I don't think gets enough publicity, Paul Goldschmidt came in at number 4. Great player, but hasn't gotten the recognition in the past.
Who does he play for?
Arizona.
Arizona.
First baseman. And then Bryce Harper, Clayton Kershaw. Bryce Harper, Clayton Kershaw, and Mike Trout. I don't think there was a surprise there.
Nope.
But yeah, Paul Goldschmidt sneaking in. I was really happy that happened.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know that name because I was looking at All-Star predictions, and a lot of great first basemen right now in the National League. You know, you talk about Reynolds and Rizzo, obviously, and I mean the one I'm most familiar with, Eric Thames. But yeah, I mean, to me, the top 3 is Kershaw, Harper, and Trout. I mean, you can put them anywhere you want, but as a non-baseball fan, it's absolutely those 3.
Did you look at this full list, Brett, by chance?
Oh,
I didn't. You looked at the full list, Ben?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I did not, but one person I'm surprised isn't in that top 5 is Nolan Arenado.
Yeah, that he's unbelievable as well. I don't know if you saw Ben.
He's the third baseman, right?
Yes, for the Rockies.
No, I've seen that.
He had the play. What was it? 2 days ago, where he dove and threw a guy out laying on his back. I mean, that dude is unbelievable.
I will say, what most people don't realize about that play is it was the opposing pitcher.
Okay, so it was a slow guy. So it was like me running down.
Yeah, but it's still, watching that happen live, he had to reach out while he's laying on the ground because the ball's rolling away from him, and he still gets it, rolls over, and throws the first perfectly.
You know, and what's nice to see, though, is it seems like, I think, today's the last day of the month, right? Tomorrow is July 1st?
Yep.
So if somebody hits a home run today, which is bound to happen, they will set a major league record for most home runs in a single month. They announced that this morning.
Yeah.
But what's nice to see is you know, I was watching the Brewer game when I was gone last week, and Orlando Arcia made a play where he was at his normal shortstop position, went all the way to the other side of second base, gloved it, did a 360, and threw a guy out at first. Even though we're seeing all these offensive outstanding numbers, you know, it's great to see guys like Orlando Arcia and a Nolan Arenado that can just glove it with the best of them and make these incredible plays, because I think that's what keeps baseball interesting. With it being a slow sport, the more top 10 plays you get in a single game, usually the more entertaining the game's going to be.
Well, on top of that, you know, from my stance, there's been a bit of a youth movement in baseball. Yes. You know, obviously you have Trout and Harper, but you have guys like Nolan Arenado and Aaron Judge who are just lighting up the major leagues, and I think that's a really cool thing to see because, you know, I mean, we were always talking about big free agent additions, guys like, you know, Greinke and, of course, A-Rod getting just these monster deals, but more guys are being grown from within, from the minor leagues. So I think that's really good for the MLB.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the more the younger talent, so to speak, you know, you're kind of baseball is obviously the America's game. It's the pastime, so to say. But now, you know, with the way that we've seen basketball and football develop, you got more of this quote unquote like the swag, you know, that players have, and baseball was kind of slow to adopt that. But now with a lot of these young guys, you're getting more of these players who have that edge, who have that outgoing personality. You know, last year there was a huge uproar about flipping a baseball bat after a home run. Yeah. Like, of all the things to argue about, a guy flips a baseball bat and bench is clear. I mean, that's the stuff that people obviously want to see. But like you said, Ben, I completely agree. I think with the youth coming through, you're starting to see the change in the game of baseball. And I think it's going to be better for the game moving forward.
100%.
All right, so moving on to the NFL, a interesting bit of news. Ben, I'm going to direct this question your way.
Okay.
Because Brett Favre has talked about coming back, but not as a player. He has talked about maybe being a coach or a GM one day. What do you see in the future? I mean, do you think he's a guy that might fit that role pretty well, or a John Lynch, where he's going to have to hire the perfect guy to be with him and learn the ropes?
Okay, well, here's the thing. Is it possible for him to return? 100%, absolutely. But he said he's not going to return or even think about getting a job with the Packers until his daughter is done with her volleyball career at Southern Miss, and she's just becoming a freshman right now. She just graduated from high school, so
you're looking at 4 years.
We're looking at 4 years. But we're not even talking. He's not going to be Ted Thompson's replacement. He's not going to be a GM. He's not going to have the role John Elway has with the Broncos. I see him more as kind of what Mark Murphy is, kind of maybe a vice president of sorts.
Okay. Do you think that he could be maybe now? Obviously, it would be a little weird bringing him in with Rodgers still there, but maybe as the quarterback coach.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I mean, if Coach McCarthy is still the coach then, I think he could certainly bring him in. I don't know what Brett Favre wants to do, but I'm guessing if he wants a job, they're going to give him one. Kind of. I mean, there's definitely no... the relationship is cured. There's nothing wrong. He kind of served his so-called penance. So, I think he could be a coach, and of course, First Take is already arguing as if he already has a job, and they're like, oh, his relationship with Aaron Rodgers is broken up. No, it's not. As far as I know, Aaron and Brett's relationship is very good. They don't text every day, or they're not best buddies, but it's fine. And even at that point, in 4 years, Aaron Rodgers might only have 3-4 years left. So, but I don't even want to talk about that. The only question for me is there a possibility of Brett returning to the Packers? And the answer is 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if somebody besides the Packers offers him a job, I don't think he takes it. I think if he does come back in any type of an off-the-field capacity to the NFL, it's going to be with Green Bay. I mean, that's the only realistic place that I really ever see this happening.
Yeah, unless Mike Holmgren becomes, a president of somewhere again, like he did in Cleveland, and offers Brett, or Steve Mariucci somehow, one of those guys. But otherwise, I think,
or Gruden maybe,
that's certainly possible. Yeah.
So Ben, I'm going to let you take this over. The quest that you had me and Brett sent on to.
It was a simple
compete
quest.
With the NFL.
We did this last year. We did this last
mission.
Year. Yeah, no. So we, as me and you, Richie, have talked about on the show many times, we hate the NFL Top 100 because it's very unreliable. Usually there are a couple names that are just like, what? Why is this guy ranked here, or why is he ranked so high, so low? It's by the players, and clearly the players do not know what they're talking about.
And the most upsetting thing was, I think that there was it J.J. Watt came out and said that he was ranked like in the 20s or something like that.
He was ranked in like the 50s.
And he made a comment saying, he's like, how am I even on this list?
Well, I think there's a bit of confusion as to what the list is. Is it because it's called the Top 100 Players of 2017, but they rank it like the best performers of last year. I mean, but if it's best performers of last season, why wouldn't Matt Ryan be number one?
Right, and that's why I asked you how you wanted to do it, because I think you're right. I think it's supposed to be based on last season.
Yeah, I think most people rank it on just top who are the best players in the NFL right now, and that's how I wanted you guys to do it. Just top 5. Richie, we'll have you start. Just go 5 to 1. You don't need to take your time or anything.
No. Yeah, so at number 5, I went with Julio Jones.
Okay.
Atlanta Falcons. Number 4, I had David Johnson of the Arizona Cardinals.
Nice.
Number 3, this is based on health. That's J.J. Watt from the Houston Texans. Number 2, I had Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers. And number 1, I had Tom Brady of the New England Patriots.
All right. Brett, let's hear yours.
For me, I had Le'Veon Bell at number 5 when he's healthy. He's the most dangerous player there is. I had Julio Jones at 4. I have J.J. Watt at 3 as well. And Aaron Rodgers and Brady at 2 and 1.
Okay, and then mine, pretty similar. Number 5, I have Khalil Mack, Defensive Player of the Year. Number 4, I have J.J. Watt. 3, I have Julio Jones. And then we have the same top 2, except I have them mixed up, of course. 2, I have Tom Brady, and number 1, Aaron Rodgers. But I try not to get upset over the top 100.
Tomato.
No. To me, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, I don't care who you have number 1 or number 2, but they're the top 2. It's
right.
It might as well be 1A, 1B for me. But I try not to get upset with the top 100. I know there's a little bit of bias for me. There's always bias towards your team. Brett,
right.
You're a little bit biased towards the Patriots. Rich, you're a little bit biased towards the Bears. That's just natural. It's kind of a subconscious bias, and I know I have that too. But Aaron Rodgers at number 6.
Yeah, and not only that, but I'm trying to think. I was going through the list. I was like watching the announcement of the top 50 or whatever because I was trying to see who they had, and I was like, okay, because I know how ridiculous it can be.
It's pathetic.
And I'm trying to think, was it Matt? I think they had Matt Ryan at 12.
Yeah,
he wasn't even in the top 10.
Matt Ryan's 10, but he was unranked last year.
He was 10. Okay, they had somebody at 12 that I was like,
David Johnson's 12.
David Johnson's 12. There you go.
And then
I got David Johnson at 4. I mean, not to say I'm right and they're wrong, but that's a big discrepancy.
It's a popularity contest is what it is, because I know there's a lot of people in the NFL. I mean, I'm sure every Packer that was ranking put Rodgers at number 1. And I'm sure a lot of the NFC North people put Rodgers at number 1. But there are a lot
Same with the Patriots and the
AFC.
AFC East, right.
But I think there's it's a popularity contest, because I think there are a lot of people who just flat out don't like Rodgers. A lot of players in the league, because when I was watching his segment that they put on, Michael Bennett, he straight up said, "I hate Aaron Rodgers." Okay, but
and that's going to be and another to another person that's going to be affected by that is Richard Sherman. As good as the player Richard Sherman is,
pretty low as far as I remember.
Richard Sherman is arguably depending upon how you want to make your argument.
Brett, what was he ranked?
He's 21st.
Oh, that's pretty high, actually.
But I mean, when you argue about Richard Sherman, when you talk about a zone cover corner, he might be the best in the NFL.
Sure.
He's not a guy that I'm not going to put man on man because he's not the athlete of a Patrick Peterson or somebody like that. But for what they do, Sherman could be the best corner in the league. And you talk about a guy being ranked 21, who's arguably number 1 or number 2 at his own position. It's
Brett,
to me, it's kind of.
Do you have the list in front of you?
I do. 2 names I wanted to point out real quick. So, first of all, 3. Drew Brees is ranked 16. Guess which quarterback is ranked ahead of him?
Stafford.
No.
No.
Not Cam.
Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is ranked ahead of Drew Brees.
I think I saw Ezekiel Elliott was 6 or 7 or something like that.
7.
7.
I don't care about that as much as I do. Dak Prescott didn't win them those games.
No.
He kept them in the game.
Right.
But so then you go to 18, ranked ahead of Patrick Peterson, another Cowboys player, tackle Tyrone Smith. You're telling me that Joe Thomas is 25th on the list.
That's what I was going to ask you. I would rank Zach Martin really high as well.
Yeah.
No. Zach Martin might be top 10 for me, if I'm being completely honest.
I would say top 15. 20 for sure for Zach Martin.
Oh, yeah.
I can't be. Here's the thing. Where did you say Tyrone Smith was?
He's 18. Last year he was 42nd. Joe Thomas was 23rd. Now he's 25th.
Here's my thing.
Okay,
I can't be mad with Smith being ranked top 20 because he's arguably the best tackle in football. Between him and Joe Thomas is probably your pick. Mm-hmm. Okay, he plays arguably one of the most important positions as well. Now, I think the argument isn't that Tyron Smith is ahead of him. I think it's that Patrick Peterson is too low. That's where I think you maybe make the argument.
I have nothing wrong with ranking if you want to put Smith or Thomas first or second in tackles. But is he a better player in the NFL than Patrick Peterson, Richard Sherman, Ben Roethlisberger? I mean, those are three of the biggest stars in today.
But besides
Eric Berry's
quarterback,
13.
left tackle might be the most valuable position in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm with Ben on that one.
But, I don't know. Eric Berry is a guy that's 13th, and he's not even – I don't think he's the best at his own position.
I think you're in the minority there.
Who do you have as the best safety in pro football?
Well, I mean, it depends on – some guys play a lot of safety that also play cornerback.
Yeah.
And
so who would you say is better than Eric Berry?
I mean, Landon Collins isn't bad. I don't know if I'd say he's better, but I don't think Eric Berry is a top 15 player in the NFL.
I would agree with you that I think Landon Collins is breathing down his neck. Landon Collins is a heck of a football player. But yeah, I think you're in the minority on that one. Eric Berry is a special dude.
Earl Thomas is banged up. He might not ever be the same.
Right. Cam Chancellor maybe.
There's a lot of guys. Not to take anything away from Berry, but I think
he survived cancer. Give him a break.
Right.
I know, but so that perspective, last year he was 55th. Last year
he had a great year this year.
Yeah.
But it's that. I don't know.
But okay. But the thing, probably besides Rodgers at number 6, the thing that got me most upset, and I try not to get upset, like I said, Jordy Nelson 48, and Odell Beckham Jr. number 8.
Yes, Odell Beckham. I saw that and I just shook my head. I was highly upset. Brett, since you have the list up, I do, not for argument's sake, I haven't looked at the list.
Yep.
Where did Jordan Howard make it? I'm just curious.
No, he didn't.
He did not make it. Okay.
That's ridiculous too.
So it must not be based on last year alone, because if it's based on 2016 season, I would have to assume Jordan Howard would be a top 50 player.
But see, that's why this list is so terrible, because they don't explain it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and to put into perspective, AJ Green is ranked below Odell Beckham.
Was Green the one that was 12?
Green is 17.
No, you said David Johnson was 12.
Yeah.
Green.
Like Des Bryant, Mike Evans are both below. Mike Evans, I mean, I think he had one great year, but Beckham had a down year by his standards, but I think if you go straight talent-wise,
he caught 2 passes in the playoff game.
But, I mean, Tyreek Hill's ranked ahead of Des Bryant.
Yeah, that ticked me off. I'm sorry.
Think Jarvis Landry's ahead of Des Bryant. I mean, so to put in perspective, Derek Carr 2 years ago in 2016 was ranked 100th. 100th. Now he's 11 or something to that effect.
Which rightfully so.
All right.
But Derek Carr's year before was pretty good as well.
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't make any sense how you jump 89.
I think because, I think the player, not to say that this is what it is, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that maybe it's one of those situations where, like you said, Derek Carr didn't have a bad year, but because Derek Carr, maybe that season was his breakout season, they said, okay, he earned the spot, but then he backed it up. So that first year was like a show me year, and that second year was okay, now he's here, he's legitimate, let's give him the love. But to me, that's how players think. I would think that players think.
I think... Okay, first of all, I don't think the players put in as much thought as we do when making these lists. They're pretty much just given, a clipboard and say, name your top 20 players. Like, okay, and they're sitting there just, okay, who's good? Okay, Brady's good. Aaron Rodgers. Oh, yeah, Odell Beckham. Yeah, it's pretty much the first names that come up in their head.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's why Jordan Howard didn't make the top 100. Because you don't really think of him. You think of Ezekiel Elliott.
Right, right. And, I mean, rightfully so. Not to say that Jordan Howard, shouldn't be really high.
He was second in the league in rushing.
Right. To me, that's, and like you said, that's what they have to decide. What is this list based on? Is it based on last season? Is it based on if you're just naming the most talented dudes that just ball? I mean, because if that's the case, to me, Dez Bryant is a top 5 receiver in the NFL because just of his talent level. Now, with quarterback injuries and the way that they've been able to run the ball, his numbers aren't going to be as good looking as an Odell Beckham, where Eli Manning throws the ball 50 times a game. But Dez Bryant, off of talent alone, he's right up there with Julio and Antonio Brown and those guys.
Yeah.
Just to make you more mad, Richie, Jay Ajayi and where is it? DeMarco Murray both made. DeMarco Murray's 33rd.
Moving on.
Let's move on. I don't want to spend any more time on this.
So we are in the middle of June, and somehow we are going to have college basketball a topic on hand here, because John Calipari once again finds a way to put his name in the news. Hey, even if it's out there, it doesn't have to be true, but there's some truth to it.
But he's in Egypt right now. He is literally in Egypt.
Apparently has put his name in the hat for the New York Knicks job, and then a day later denied ever doing so. How much truth is there to this? And is Calipari somebody who should be considered?
I don't think there's any truth to
it. Zero.
What? Are they going to pay him more money in the NBA? I don't really think so.
Yeah, I mean, that I'm not sure. I don't know what
he's going to be making $7-8 million.
I think I don't know if he's the highest paid coach in college sports, but I know Nick Saban.
I think Harbaugh is.
I know Saban. Not last year. Harbaugh was the highest paid football coach, but when I looked, I think it was Harbaugh's first year. I think Saban was just over $8 million.
Calipari signed an extension in March that would give him $8 million a year.
He's got the best job in college basketball.
Oh, no
Why
doubt.
would you? He's not going anywhere. This is just all a rumor from New York tabloids. It's nothing.
Yeah, if he leaves,
it's
biggest mistake.
It's as ridiculous as the NFL Top 100. That's how ridiculous it is.
I like the comparison, Ben.
Yeah.
I really do.
Apparently today we're talking about just crazy news.
That could be.
When we have NBA free agency coming up in mere hours.
Don't worry. Hey, NBA is right after this. After Brett looks like he's working really hard, so I want to give him...
I was just looking to see top 3 highest paid NBA coaches. Tom Thibodeau is number 3 at $10 million a year. I don't know how that worked. Doc Rivers is 2 at like 10.5, and Popovich is at 11. So, does Calipari need $2 million more a year?
No,
he's not going anywhere.
He can't recruit. That's all Calipari does is recruit. I mean, if he leaves, I'd go place a bet on the Knicks to win the NBA championship, because that's how likely it is that Calipari is leaving Kentucky.
I like the two comparisons. Now, moving on to what's making Ben super excited here, we're going to get to the NBA. I didn't necessarily go in order here, guys, so just bear with me. But the first thing I got down is the Gordon Hayward situation, which has already been a frenzy. Told Utah he will opt out. Miami was the first team he met with, but as we know, Boston is waiting. They're just waiting to sign the check. What's going on with Gordon Hayward?
Well, he meets with Miami tomorrow, right? I think.
Yeah, that's the first meeting. Yep.
Yeah. So Miami tomorrow, Utah on originally I thought it was Miami, Boston, Utah, but apparently Boston is now last.
Okay.
I don't know if that'll have any effect, except that it gives Danny Ainge an extra day to convince Tom Brady to come back from China to make this pitch. But if Gordon Hayward returns to Utah, I think it's pretty likely. I think he likes what happened there last year, and I think he believes he can attract one more player, or that they have something they can build around, and they play a style of offense that lets him be the star, and he's comfortable there. I mean, his family's there. He's been there for 7 years. It's the only team he's ever known.
Ben.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much has three choices. Better money, so go to Utah. Better team, go to Boston. Or better temperature, go to Miami. So, I mean, I think, if I'm Danny Ainge right now, if I'm Boston, I would give him a big contract, 4 years, 115, something like that. But you don't need to offer him as much as Utah or Miami, because you're offering him the chance at making a playoff run.
Yes.
And I think that should be the first thing that should be on Boston's mind. And also they got Brad Stevens, so there's definitely a connection there. I know he's been at Utah for 5 or 6 years already, but I think he would feel very comfortable in Boston.
Yeah, if I'm Boston, my entire sales pitch has nothing to do with money.
No.
It's about win some more, and let's get a ring. That's the only thing I'm talking about the whole time we're in that meeting. Because like you said, Ben, Utah can offer him the most money with the bird rights and the option to re-sign. And Brett, as you mentioned, they let him do his thing. He would be the focal point in Miami. So if he did go to Miami, it's very similar to that of Utah. He would be the main guy down there. But yeah, Boston has to just really go into this thing saying, dude, come win. Yeah. Come win. And the fact that all the guys are leaving the East, whatever the reason being, everybody's saying, well, guys are leaving the East to go to the West because they can't get past LeBron. Well, Golden State's in the West. Yeah. But everybody's going to the West, it seems. Come to the East, and you might have a better shot of winning a title.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the East, and two of the biggest names outside of Cleveland, Jimmy Butler and Paul George, will both most likely be gone after. I mean, Butler's gone. Paul George will probably be in LA in a year, right. And so that leaves who? I mean, DeMar DeRozan's pretty good, but he's not a player that you can't get by. I mean,
Kyle Lowry could be on his way out.
Right, he could be heading to the West, and from what all the rumors are saying, LeBron James could be heading to the Western Conference after next year as well.
Yeah, and so that leaves what is like Kemba Walker, top 3 player in the East now. I mean, you think about it, it's LeBron.
Ben's thinking about it.
I'm trying to think here.
LeBron, Kyrie, and I guess you can either. I mean, Giannis. You could throw Isaiah in there. You could throw DeRozan in there.
Isaiah, Giannis, DeRozan, John Wall.
Yeah. So Paul Millsap could be to the West this year.
Yeah.
You said what?
Paul Millsap.
Paul Millsap. He's meeting with Phoenix.
Yeah.
Blake Griffin as well is meeting with Phoenix.
Yeah, that was the next name on my list. I was going to say, speaking of Phoenix, Blake Griffin now looks like he's on his way out. And DeAndre Jordan's going to be left with an empty house.
That's what he wanted. He wanted to be in LA, apparently.
Anyway, what should Blake Griffin really be looking for here? He is not a guy that is going to make a team a champion. He's not going to make them a contender. He didn't do it with LA. LA didn't become a contender until Chris Paul got there. I mean, that's the reality of it. Blake Griffin can be the second best player on your team. He can't be the best.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas has already started trying to recruit him to Boston. What is best case scenario for Blake Griffin?
Best case scenario is he goes to Boston. I would agree with that. But at the same time, kind of like what I said about Gordon Hayward. They don't have to offer him this $30 million a year contract. They don't have to. They have the draft picks still. They have a guy in Jason Tatum who could, be the next Paul Pierce. So Boston is sitting pretty with a ton of options. The worst thing they could do at this point is trade for Paul George. But, if you can get Gordon Hayward or Blake Griffin on a discount, do it. And I think, the other option really is Phoenix. Or re-sign with LA. So,
Brett, would you openly take either one? Do you prefer one to the other?
Obviously, I'd rather have Gordon Hayward because he's more versatile.
And
can feed.
And he's healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's healthy as well. I don't know if the health is something. You hear a lot of times that teams have different training regimens. A baseball example is Thornburg comes to Boston and all of a sudden he's out for the year.
Right.
I don't know if that's something that the Boston trainers and strength and conditioning staff could help fix with Griffin or make at least less likely that he's going to get hurt in the playoffs. But Blake Griffin's obviously the more flashy of the two players, and I think he would help in our biggest weakness, which is rebounding, but I don't think he's a guy that you can count on. He's a lot like Gronkowski. He'll get hurt when you need him most, and really the 82 games in the NBA season in the Eastern Conference don't matter.
You guys need shooters, too. So
yeah,
and he's not a shooter.
And so Blake Griffin doesn't fill that shooting aspect. If they can't get Hayward and they get Griffin, which is what I've seen a lot of reports say, most reports say Hayward to Miami and Griffin to Boston. I guess you got to go with what is available because the next couple years don't look like great free agent classes.
Yeah,
100% agree there. Now, moving on to what is the massacre called the Chris Paul trade to the Houston Rockets. Basically trading everything from Patrick Beverley all the way down to the vendor who fills the Pepsi machine, since they traded about the whole front office and everybody else to go along with it. What was Chris Paul wanted to be there. What was the purpose of this?
And couldn't he opt out?
I believe so.
Thinking wrong in that he could have opted out and signed with Houston?
Was Houston that scared that he would sign with the Spurs?
Apparently so.
I didn't understand this one bit.
No, pretty much, looking at kind of the West standings right now, Houston, with this trade, basically puts them toe-to-toe with San Antonio, maybe.
Right.
But they're not going to beat the Warriors.
No.
See, and
Houston was already top 3.
Yes.
Without Chris Paul.
Yes. And, it's the same thing with talking about Paul George trading to Boston. Does it make them better than can they beat the Cavs and the Warriors with Paul George? No, they can't beat the Warriors. So why are you giving up everything just to get one spot up in the West? It makes no sense to me. And if they keep losing, Paul George is going to go somewhere else. He's going to go to Golden State and be Steph's backup. Why not?
Well, and the other thing is after this happened, the Rockets just started making a bunch of random
trades.
They made
6 trades in
one bench day. Players. Granted, I will always stand by the fact is, if you think that is your guy, you go and get your guy. But if your guy wants to come to you willingly, what is the purpose of? I don't get it. Look, I love Chris Paul. Chris Paul is my favorite player. It's unfortunate that now I have to cheer for the Houston Rockets. Didn't want to do that, but is what it is. If it means that they're going to knock Golden State out of the playoffs, I'm all for it. But this, from a basketball standpoint, this makes no sense whatsoever. And they don't get better.
And the big question is, how is Chris Paul and James Harden going to share the ball? Because last season, James Harden had that MVP caliber season because he was essentially the point guard. He was
Correct.
carrying the ball up the court. I mean, in every possession, he pretty much touched the ball at least once or twice.
Right, and this is no disrespect to Patrick Beverly, who is an All NBA defender.
Yeah.
But Chris Paul is not Patrick Beverly, or I should say Patrick Beverly is not Chris Paul. Chris Paul is a first team All NBA player, a first team All Defensive NBA player. Chris Paul might be the best two-way guard next to John Wall, two-way point guard next to John Wall in the NBA. But because you gave up so much, you stay stagnant. There is no improvement. There's no improvement. There's no decrease here.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I get it. Everybody's on the hype train. But, I mean, Minnesota got a lot better adding Jimmy Butler. These teams, the Clippers are obviously going to fall. But depending upon if the Spurs add somebody, now the Spurs just moved up on you again because you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I honestly think Houston could get worse. I mean, that might just be me, but you lose Lou Williams. And so now the team basically consists of Chris Paul, James Harden, Clint Capella. I mean, Ryan Anderson's there.
You got the sixth man of the year, Eric Gordon.
Eric Gordon.
Gordon's there. But then you're going to have basically 6 D-League players.
Do they have Trevor Ariza yet?
They still have Ariza.
Ariza, okay.
So your second unit's going to be terrible.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, this kind of reminds me, when LeBron signed with Miami and the Big Three, they pretty much had a goon squad with them, and old Zadrunas Ilgauskas, Udonis Haslem, Eddie House. Mario Chalmers was not that good that first year.
Yeah.
But granted, Paul and Harden are not that Big Three, so...
Yeah, I agree. Before we get to the draft and free agency, I didn't watch it, but did either of you guys watch that awful award show that they did?
Oh, God, no. I didn't even. The second I heard Drake was hosting, I tuned out.
I had heard things about it.
I
but
thought
did
you
not.
were. You were giving us breaking news updates whenever a Milwaukee Buck.
I got the ESPN alert, and I just thought I would share it because all off season I've been getting ripped on by Ben for the fact that I thought Brogdon and Giannis would get the Rookie of the Year and Most Improved.
You didn't say at the beginning of the
Not
year.
at the beginning of the year, but since the season ended, that's who I
mean, I knew Giannis was going to win Most Improved. He's the biggest name out of those three.
Yeah.
But it should have been Jokic because Giannis at the end of last season, he was already at that level. So same thing with Gobert.
You're saying he should have been nominated last year, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Instead of this year.
Yeah.
I got you. That makes sense.
And
But
Sarge should have won Rookie of the Year. So
Rookie of the Year.
Sarge should have won.
Going to the draft, I broke it down into 3 portions. If you guys want to just throw stuff out there, go right ahead.
All right.
But to start, I started with what I thought were the best fits, players who ended up in the best position in the draft. And I think you got to start at the top with Markelle Fultz, who's going to get every opportunity in the world to fail. That he almost has to succeed based on going number 1 to the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, he's going to get 35 to 38 minutes a night, most likely. And he has no competition to play point guard. I mean, it's the 76ers may have the best group of young bigs in the NBA, but nobody can get him the ball, and it's obviously a much better position than him going to Boston, so it's going to be a better start for Fultz's career. Whether it ends up better in the long run, we'll have to see, but Sixers got the player they needed.
Yep.
I agree. Fultz in Philadelphia is a perfect situation, and he doesn't have anybody to compete with at point guard, but he has 2 of the best backup point guards in TJ McConnell and Jared Bayless. 2 guys who if he does struggle, these guys can come up into the starting five and, fill in nicely.
Do they still have Ish Smith?
Ish Smith is with Detroit.
Detroit. Okay, I wasn't sure if Detroit was before or after. Moving on to the next pick, minus his old man, Lonzo is the perfect fit for the Lakers, regardless here. Magic obviously putting a lot of pressure on him in that press conference. But from a basketball standpoint, they got rid of D'Angelo Russell, who was already snitching on his teammates in Brooklyn. But Lonzo Ball is truly a great fit here for the LA Lakers.
Yeah, good pass-first point guard, as we talked about in the draft preview, and a place where he really doesn't have anybody to knock down a bunch of shots right now, but I think something that will develop as Brandon Ingram becomes a better player, as Julius Randle learns how to play in the post against guys bigger than him. Right. And those three are basically the building blocks of the future for LA, and we'll have to see if they can lure Paul George to the Lakers when it seems like there's a 99% chance he goes there, and it would just take them messing it up somehow for him to not end up in the purple and gold.
They'll probably trade 18 players for him is what'll happen. They'll take the Houston recipe of success.
Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, they'll both end up in Indiana.
Yeah.
Ben, your opinion on Lonzo?
No, I mean it was a solid pick. I didn't see them picking anybody else. I think we all knew Lonzo was going to LA. A solid pick. I mean, I really liked the Brandon Ingram pick last year. So having those two together, plus guys like Randall, Dang, and Brook Lopez, it's a solid group. It's not going to get you into the playoffs.
Right.
You're going to need at least Paul George to get into the playoffs, but a good start to the Magic Johnson era.
Yeah, keeping the theme here in Los Angeles, arguably my favorite pick here in the early going. That was De'Aaron Fox going to the Sacramento Kings. This is a match made in heaven. The perfect player for the perfect team almost is the way that this happened.
Yeah, I was shocked that Sacramento actually made a good pick here. Because they always seem to screw it up, no matter what. And for once, this draft, they had a good draft overall. Picking him, getting Justin Jackson from the DeMarcus Cousins trade, essentially, and then drafting Harry Giles, who we all said is boom or bust. But
and Harry Giles was the return for Zach Collins, I believe, going to Portland, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. But continue.
No, I mean, to me that was it was worth the boot. It was worth the risk because you already had 2 first-round picks. I think Justin Jackson's a good replacement for Rudy Gay, and De'Aaron Fox. At the end of the day, he might end up becoming the best point guard in this draft, despite Lonzo and Fultz being picked before him.
Right, and you just talked about replacement for Rudy Gay, but I think they also declined the option on Ben McLemore as well.
They did.
So Jackson could slide in there. To me, I don't think Jackson will ever be a star, but at worst, he's a good role player that you can use to help fill out your roster. And Ben, I'm going to come right back to you. Dennis Smith, I loved it. Thought it was a great pick, and the pick that they needed because he is an athletic point guard who can do everything.
Yeah, no, this is a fantastic pick for them. I mean, the draft fell perfectly for the Mavericks. They ended up getting the choice between him and Malik Monk, and I would have been happy with either. But with Dennis Smith, they give him that athletic, explosive guy. And, a couple years ago, the Mavericks had Darren Collison at point guard, and he dominated in that system. And Dennis Smith is going to be great in this. And then he also has, the Mavericks will also have Yogi Ferrell and J.J. Barea coming off the bench.
And Curry.
And Seth Curry. He's more of a 2. He plays more at the 2, but they also had Devin Harris. So.
Okay. The next category I got here is guys that I think their success is going to be based more on their potential than it is a good fit. And to start off, Brett, one of the guys that you like, Josh Jackson, going to the Phoenix Suns. His success, I think, is going to depend more on the development of the players around him. He can be an elite level talent, but I don't think he can make Phoenix a winner. But this pick, what does Jackson offer them with the way that they run things?
Yeah, I think he's kind of, obviously you didn't put him in the good fit category, and I think that's a good thing because you look at Eric Bledsoe and Devin Booker, and they're not pass first players. I don't see him as pass first players. And Josh Jackson is somebody that isn't going to be your point guard. He's not Giannis. He's not LeBron. He's not Kevin Durant. But he's a guy that will play out on the wing sort of like Jimmy Butler. Obviously not to Jimmy Butler's level, but he can shoot the ball a decent clip. People question his shooting stroke. I mean, it's no different than Lonzo's. Lonzo's worked in college. We'll see if it works in the pros. And he can play defense, which is something Phoenix was absolutely terrible at last year. And I think that'll help them get closer to making the playoffs, but I think they're still a long ways away, and their peak is like a 5 or 6 seed with the group of players they have.
Ben.
I love Josh Jackson. He was one of my top 3 player for me. What I question right now, looking at Phoenix's roster, is who are they going to get rid of? They got to get rid of somebody here. They have, first of all, do you put him at the 3 or 4? I see him more as a 4 or stretch 4 in the NBA. But in that sense, you have 3 power forwards drafted from this year and last year. You have him, you have Marquise Chris, and you have Dragan Bender. One of those guys have to go.
Right, and not only that, but I think with them trying to sign Blake Griffin as well, you have to take that into consideration.
I mean, he might end up playing the 5 if he signs with Phoenix.
But
is that funny to you?
It just to think. I mean,
it's small ball.
It is, but that to me, Phoenix with that group of guys. When you look at the guys, some that Brent mentioned with Bledsoe, Booker, and
honestly,
then
I would trade Bledsoe. I would try and get kind of a trade.
Right. You got to start trading guys.
Yeah, I would get some almost like a Chris Paul trade, like a mini trade like that. You're not going to get much of a return on investment as they did for Chris Paul, but
right.
Get somebody.
At this point, you have to take what you can get, right? Yeah. Another pick. I think it's a kind of a good fit, but there's been a lot of back and forth on it. Jason Tatum going to Boston. Brett, I know you were not happy, but he's carbon copy Paul Pierce. I mean, he doesn't have the elite right now step in rookie of the year level ability that Paul Pierce had coming out of college, but his potential is sky high.
I personally don't think it is sky high, but almost everybody else does. Obviously, most people agree was the most polished scorer in college basketball coming into the NBA. I saw him making a video of 10 straight threes today versus Jaylen Brown in like a 3-point competition, so maybe he'll be okay, but I just don't think he provides on both ends of the floor as well as Josh Jackson could have, or as well as Jonathan Isaac will, given a year or two.
Ben.
Yeah, Tatum is definitely. Compare him to Isaac and Josh Jackson. He's a lot less flashy. He's not. Right. He's not going to be a guy that's going to blow up the highlight tape or get on the SportsCenter top 10. But I think he's a solid player. Is he number 3 overall solid? Probably not. But the Celtics need to start drafting some guys. They can't keep trading back and trading all their picks for somebody like Paul George. That's not worth it. You need to start trusting your scouts and Danny Ainge and building a future. That's what the Golden State Warriors did. 3 of their big 4 they drafted. So, you got to have faith in Danny Ainge. So, I I think he's a solid player. I think he's better than Jaylen Brown, at least.
Yeah, to me, the difference, why I have him in the potential category versus the best fit is because I think Jason Tatum isn't necessarily that NBA guy right now who's ready to step on the court and play 30 to 35 minutes for the Boston Celtics with where they're at as a team. But he has that ability to be your sixth man right now, and his potential is Paul Pierce. That level, like you said, a polished scorer. He might be the best all-around scorer in this draft, and that's what Pierce was. If you can get him to be Paul Pierce, that's, best case scenario, and you're going to win for a lot of years with a guy like that. But that's where the potential comes in, just because Boston is so stacked right now. I think no matter who they picked, it wasn't necessarily going to be that guy, unless it was Markelle Fultz, who was going to come in and play 30 minutes a night. But a name that you brought up who screams potential all over him, no matter where he went, whether it was first or 60th, and that's Jonathan Isaac. This dude has potential, just so much of it. He's sweating it. What is the ceiling for this guy? Because he, as much potential as he has, he's that guy that they keep saying he's a boomer bust guy. What's the potential for Isaac? Here going to Orlando, I guess not surprisingly, since John Hammond is the guy, the king of length that built the team in Milwaukee using players like Isaac.
Yeah, I might have misheard, but I think some people have said if he pans out, he could be similar to Kevin Durant. That might have been... I might have misheard that, but I think most people are thinking at worst he's Aaron Gordon, which adding another Aaron Gordon to the Magic doesn't really do anything for him, I don't think.
Right.
But he's a guy that, watching him play at Florida State a lot, because I've watched a lot of ACC basketball, he has the potential to be a stretch 4/5, depending on how you play the roster, and be, I think, a top 5 player at his position. He can shoot the ball well already, he can rebound, he's super athletic, and he's got length, as you said, and I think most of it's going to come down to him being able to put muscle on while still staying as athletic as he is.
Yeah, right now Orlando's a mess, and John Hammond has kind of been hired to clean it up, and Jonathan Isaac, to me, is a good start. This is, he's not a guy you can immediately rebuild around, because he's more potential than results at the moment, but I think this is a very good player, and like you said, he has the length everybody's looking for these days. He has that Giannis Thon-Maker, Kevin Durant frame, and that's why I liked him so much. So I think he's going to be a good player, but it all depends on how this rebuilding phase goes for Orlando. Are they going to get rid of Aaron Gordon? Are they going to get rid of Vucevic or Biyombo or Alfred Payton? What are they going to do? To me, that's going to depend. That's Orlando's rebuilding. That's going to. What am I trying to say? That's going to be a lot on Jonathan Isaac. That's going to be like
where the rebuilding starts, basically.
Right, but his career might not pan out if Orlando's rebuilding doesn't go well. That's what I'm trying to say.
There you go. That's very true, and
I had a lot of words in my head, and they were all jumbled.
Well, and what you said is true. I think about the next guy on this list, which this trade just kind of kept working itself out, and the Chicago Bulls getting Lauri Markkanen at 7 was one of those things that it was like, what?
The funniest thing about, and the pronunciation, I thought it was Markkanen. It's Markkanen, apparently. I don't know. Markkanen. I was wrong. I thought it was Markkanen. But the funniest thing, watching the draft, or listening, I was listening to it on the radio, everybody was like, oh, he's a great player, he's so good, can't rebound, can't defend, but oh man, he's a good shooter. Why would you Why would you get him if the only thing he can do is shoot? He's a 7-foot guy. You're not... Why... so he's basically Channing Frye. I'm not drafting Channing... I'm not drafting Channing Frye 7th overall.
No, and, the thing is maybe... I'm not in Chicago, so I don't know, but to me, the only thing that makes sense here is that they say, we want him next to Robin Lopez because Robin Lopez is our defensive guy. But looking at the both of you with your heads down, there's no way that you can justify that. There's no way you can justify that. And having the 7th overall pick, you just traded Jimmy Butler. What's wrong with getting a scorer like Malik Monk? Maybe Monk is a reach at 7. I saw him going in that range in a lot of mock drafts.
They could have gone Monk, Dennis Smith, or Frank Ntilikina. Any of those would have made more sense.
And even though I think, even though I don't know how high his ceiling is, I have questions about how good he's really going to be. I don't think you could even have been mad if they took Zach Collins at that point, with how fast he's been rising. But he's an all-around player versus Markkanen. I mean, the way when you compare the two.
Well, and man, and I'm so tired of these Porzingis, Dirk Nowitzki comparisons because those two guys, they can rebound, they can defend a little bit. This guy is like, he's Channing Frye. Who wants Channing Frye now?
Cleveland.
Well, yeah, because LeBron loves just surrounding himself around 3-point shooters.
Yes.
That's how he gets 8 assists a game.
All right. I can't pronounce it, so I'm going to call him Frank.
Frank. Okay, it's Ntilikina.
Ntilikina.
Don't pronounce the
All
N.
right.
That I learned that.
The silent N. All right. So Frank Ntilikina went to the Knicks at his press conference. They spelt his name wrong on his jersey, so he's off to a great start.
Knicks.
After firing Phil Jackson. So his career in New York is off to a wonderful start. But again, another guy. We don't get the luxury of having the access to see these players, play a whole lot here. But this guy is supposed to have a lot of potential.
Well, I saw a little bit of him, like, right before the draft. Like, right when we were done with our show, I looked him up, and I found him. To me, he's nothing special. Comparing him to when Ricky Rubio was coming out of the draft. When I saw Ricky Rubio's highlight tape, I was amazed. I'm like, this guy is the next Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
Ntilikina, to me, I mean, he's nothing. Like, to me, he should be dominating the league he was in. And everybody's saying, he can be a good player. I don't think he's ever going to make an all-star team, but he's going to be a good player. Like, no, I'm drafting...
You don't take that guy 8th overall.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm drafting upside in the NBA draft. That's why I'm going for somebody like Jonathan Isaac or Dennis Smith. They have upside. This guy, to me, he has a very low ceiling.
And you talked about, the comparison of Rubio to Jason Kidd, and we heard a lot of the comparisons of Dennis Schroeder to Rajon Rondo.
Yeah.
Having watched a little bit of his film, is there a player that sticks out to you that might be a comparison?
Jeff Teague.
Okay, so if he would have dropped to like the middle of the lottery or even slipped out of the lottery a bit, that you would have felt more comfortable there.
Yeah,
but at 8,
I think he'll be a 10-year starter.
Okay, I got you. Go ahead.
Everything I heard said he was the perfect person to run the triangle, and
good.
It's
completely irrelevant now.
It's a weird time to fire Phil Jackson after you let him use what might be one of the most important picks for the next 10 years of the franchise.
Yeah. So there were 2 names that were kind of confusing picks to me that I want to touch on before we move on to any free agency stuff that we got. The first one I want to start with is Bam Adebayo going to Miami. This guy is almost a carbon copy. He's not as thick, but the way he plays the game is very similar to Hassan Whiteside. You just signed Hassan to a maximum level contract. And now you draft a player who is identical to the way he plays. This didn't quite make sense to me on that level. Maybe you guys liked the pick, but to me, just it didn't make sense to draft a guy that you just gave a max contract to.
Yeah. To me, for the NBA draft, it's all about upside, and I mean, if this is a guy Pat Riley likes, I'm gonna trust him. But this is just a side note. I was listening to one of his interviews after he got drafted. Might be one of the dumbest guys I've ever heard. I mean, ooh, it was brutal. Like Julius Randle level of what? So
it wasn't like Nigel Hayes, who said 16 words that none of us knew the meaning of because he's too smart. It wasn't anything like that.
No. No.
That's
But I would rather have Bam than Nigel Hayes.
All right. So you don't got to be smart to make it in the NBA.
No.
Take it.
Got to be smart to make it at Kentucky either.
No, not at all.
He fits the mold of what comes from Kentucky for the most part.
Yeah.
But I see Bam. I mean, I might be wrong, but he's not very good offensively, correct?
Correct.
So I don't even think he's Hassan Whiteside. I think he's Bismarck Biyombo.
Well,
I agree.
I agree with you. That's probably a better comparison. The only thing with me with the Whiteside is Whiteside wasn't very good offensively, even if you look at his numbers 2 years ago. As his rebounding went up, so did his points because he started becoming more dominant on the offensive glass. So he was getting easier putbacks, getting the easy twos there. That's how I kind of see Bam. That's where his offense is going to come. Bismack Biyombo, Nerlens Noel, that kind of mold is going to be what it is for Bam. Did you have anything else you want to add? I'm sorry, cut you off.
No, I just don't think he'll be a great offensive player. I think he's a guy that you're going to throw out there to grab rebounds and play some defense.
Yep.
And I don't think it helps Miami because they're so reliant on Whiteside and Dragic to score 40 to 50 points a night, and that when they don't, they get blown. I mean, I don't know if there was a team that I watched more often that would either win by 30 or lose by 30.
Well, and it also depended if Deion Waiters was hot.
Yeah,
right.
They were so reliant on so few players, and I think that's something they needed to address, and they didn't really do it. But maybe they're hoping Gordon Hayward is the answer.
But who do you draft at that point? There wasn't much available.
Well, I mean, I think you could have added, a player that might have fit in the post as a better complement to Whiteside at that point. Like you said, they expect a lot out of Whiteside. Now, he went a lot lower than I had seen his projection, but a lot of people really, really like Terrence Ferguson as a 3-and-D guy. Justice Winslow is only going to shoot 1 for 7. He's going to shoot 1 for 7 in probably 80 of the 82 games of the season. He is not a very good shooter, so maybe you complement them that way and make him your elite defender. Whereas Ferguson is a guy that's athletic, can get to the basket, can shoot the 3. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that I think might have been a better pick. It just, to me, you didn't get better.
So he was 14th. Justin Jackson was after him. Justin Patton, John Collins. I mean, Jared Allen. I think all those guys have higher overall ceilings. But
John Collins was a guy that I didn't put in my best fit. But I mean, to me, watching John Collins, I think, is like watching Paul Millsap. That was a great pick for them. Yeah, he could develop into a Paul Millsap type player.
Yeah, John Collins is the Wake Forest guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I like him too.
So, as a fan, over the last 10 years, I've seen a lot of bad picks. So always going into draft night, we always look at each other and say, how can we mess this one up tonight? Then we went out and drafted DJ Wilson to Milwaukee, somebody that we specifically talked about on the draft show, and Milwaukee found a way to do it again.
Hey, they need recruits for their D-League team. How else are they going to get tickets sold? Come on.
Now, I've been trying to justify this to me. I'm really trying to convince myself into liking this pick. It hasn't quite worked yet. But the only thing that I can come up with is the fact that they drafted Giannis, who wasn't really, nobody had any expectation for him, and has become a mega star in the making. And then obviously, Ben, you were with me last year when they picked Thon Maker, which so far to this point looks to be a better pick now than what it was a year ago this month. That's the only convincing that I can do, is that I just have to have faith and let Jesus take the wheel, so to speak, with this pick, because I don't get it. I really don't.
Well, here's the thing. That's a better pick than the Wisconsin Herd logo. That is a mess. That is the worst logo I've ever seen. It's literally the Milwaukee Bucks logo times 3.
Yes.
God, that's ugly.
Hey, I will say, though, after the draft, they fired their head of PR. They fired their head of social media.
Really?
They fired a 20-year vet in the front office. They fired their director of scouting.
Why? Why'd they fire all these people? Why'd they fire did they send off like a racy tweet or something?
They said that it was a cost-cutting move.
They kept you on staff, though. Big things are in your future.
That's right. They kept me, baby. Hey, Richie's moving up the ladder, fellas. Not very fast, though.
I got a question for you. Do you dislike this pick more than the Bears pick?
Ooh.
No, not even close.
No?
Not even close. Because here's why
There's
it's not
less
even
invested.
close. Because I think with what the Bucks are doing with the length, Wilson is 6'9" or 6'10", but he has a 7'3", 7'4" wingspan. He's athletic. He can shoot a little bit. They're obviously work with him on his jumper. If he can develop a consistent jumper, I think his length and his athleticism provide big things. He's not as explosive as Jabari is, but I think he fits the mold of what the Bucks are trying to do. He fits that system, so to speak, of what the Bucks are building.
I get that.
Whereas
it works out.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out, but you don't want me to get started on Trubisky. So
no, we'll be here for another hour. We don't have time.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. Ben has been waiting an hour and 15 minutes to talk about NBA free agency.
We kind of already talked about it. We talked about Gordon Hayward and stuff.
Was there anything that I missed? Anything that you guys want to throw in there? Because that's the last thing I have.
Right. So the big name right now being talked about is Drew Holiday, and the Pelicans are looking to give him Mike Conley money. They said they're nearing a 5-year, $170 million deal. So that's going to be about $32 million a year for a non-All-Star point guard.
Ben, you better go back and look up that Forbes list again, because Drew Holiday is about to be on there.
Well, right, but I think this has a lot. Personally, I was thinking about this. This has a lot to do with the DeMarcus Cousins trade, because once they traded for DeMarcus Cousins and added another all-star or superstar, they were in a win-now attitude. And they literally have nothing else on their roster other than Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, and Drew Holiday. They have nothing.
Well, and you know, what's hard is, even though I hate the Packers, you know, I've lived in Wisconsin.
Where is this coming? Life. What? We're talking about NBA.
Yeah, hold on. Just hold on one second. Let me get there.
Right.
Because but the way that Ted Thompson does things, and I've watched it my whole life, he's always built through the draft. You know, I'm a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan who builds through the draft. when you have a team like this, the Pelicans, who are young and should be building through the draft, but 80% of their salary cap is going to be invested in 3 players, you can't build anywhere else. And that's the frustrating thing, because I feel like a team like New Orleans, when you have a guy like DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis, you have the potential to be a playoff contender. But because you are not smart in other places, it really, really, truly sets you back.
Well, absolutely. And, and you even look at the offseason last year, they gave huge money to Solomon Hill, who did nothing, and Terrence Jones, who they ended up cutting midseason.
And I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember how they did it. I think the GM of the Pelicans is the Saints guy.
No, the GM of the Saints, Mickey Loomis, he's one of the presidents, or he's the president.
Okay, he's not the GM anymore.
No,
because he was when when they first went to the Pelicans and Benton had bought the team. He used a lot of the same people, but I couldn't remember if he was still the general manager or not.
No, he's like the COO or something. He's got a high position.
Okay.
And so I wanted to check, going off of what Ben said, on their salary cap. Without signing Drew Holiday, they're already at $83 million for this year.
And and how much is the cap going up to?
The cap is $99. It went down $2 million or $3 million. I can't remember what they said, but it didn't go where they thought it would because of, they said, the short playoffs.
So you're only so without signing Drew Holiday, you only have $16 million to work.
Yeah. So obviously they get the exception with Holiday, but your top 4 paid players right now are Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins. Obviously, Cousins is a free agent next year.
Yeah.
So that brings in a whole nother issue. Then Solomon Hill and Omer Asik.
Oh.
So.
Ben, that was awesome.
Each one more than $8.5 million. I mean, you have a bunch of guys here that are not going to help you win games. And you sign Drew Holiday, and you have 3/5 of a starting lineup, and then you're nowhere.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think so. If they can re-sign Drew Holiday because they own his rights, so that can take them over the cap.
Yep.
But once they get over the cap, the only free agent they're allowed to sign is a mid-level, because they don't have cap, but you can still sign a mid-level contract exception, is what they call it. But they wouldn't be able to sign anybody else.
I think for the most part. And so as of right now, so if they add Holiday, that pretty much takes them back to, that'll take them to $95 million for next year already, without DeMarcus Cousins. And so that brings the Pelicans back to right where they were. I don't know if they get 2 player exceptions or if there's a bird right exception and then I think there's another way that they can sign Cousins. I just am not sure of the exact parameters of how it works. But they're in a salary cap pinch, whereas I think the Kings have like $60 million to work with. So 2 different positions on 2 teams that were not that far apart when they made this trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sacramento's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, Sacramento is sitting pretty because they're gonna have another $18 million come off the cap when they let Rudy Gay walk.
Right. And Darren Collison.
And you're gonna get rid of Ben McLemore, who was, even though he wasn't making a lot, he was getting first round pick money.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, they got De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yeah.
Justin Jackson. They got a good group.
Who was the other big? Didn't they draft another big guy last year?
Scala Labasserie.
There you go. Who didn't look bad when he was thrown into the fire last year as well.
Yeah.
Highest paid player on the Kings, making $8.3 million. Costas.
Hey, just gonna throw this out there. Watch out for the Sacramento Kings in the summer league. They might be the best team this year.
They could.
It'll be the Spurs. Spurs are always the best.
Really? Even in the summer league?
Last year, Jonathan Simmons dominated.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah. Johnson, I forgot he even played in that, because he had a really good year last season
I
in
mean,
the regular
he
season.
he could have been up for most improved.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you guys have anything else that you want to throw in there?
We're ready. We're ready to play some games.
Play some
I gotta
games.
redeem myself.
All right, yeah, and Ben, I took a little bit of your wisdom that
Okay.
you tried to surpass when I did the debating questions. I tried to pick things that there is no right or wrong answer, but it's just a debate. So I tried to use that your words there to make my questions. I still might have failed miserably. No, not to nobody's surprise. But
Are we starting with
we
that?
will-
Are we starting with?
no, we're gonna start with who he played for,
Oh boy.
and this year, and this year,
This year.
and this week. Make this a little bigger here. This week, we have a player who is no longer playing in the NBA, but once upon a time in his prime, might have been one of the best at his position. That is forward/center, Jermaine O'Neal.
All right.
Jermaine O'Neal
Good
played
team.
for
We'll
1,
see
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams in his NBA career. So,
3.
what's that?
I think I have 3.
I got 3.
All right. So what we'll do is, Brett, 1 or 2?
2.
Do you want first or second?
Second.
All right, Benjamin, start us off.
Indiana Pacers.
Indiana Pacers,
The Boston Celtics.
the Boston Celtics.
Now, does the big 3 teams count?
Yeah.
No.
What do you mean? Do the big
I'm
3
talking
teams?
about Ice Cube's league.
Oh, no, they don't
No,
have that team.
I'm joking. Toronto Raptors.
Yes, Toronto Raptors,
Okay, I didn't have that one. Miami Heat.
the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
And now I'm out of teams. So
So Ben, if you get one here,
there's a good chance.
I gotta think here.
you are missing his last team. You're missing his last 2 teams he played for, and the team that drafted him.
Oh. Yeah, he bounced around. Oh. Portland?
Portland is the team that drafted
That's what I
him.
thought.
Oh boy.
Brett?
I'm going to throw out that he played for the Hornets.
Incorrect. Ben, do you want to rub it in a little bit?
Oh man. Let's see here. On the top,
The last 2 teams that he played for are the ones that you guys are missing.
last 2 teams.
Yeah, both in the Western Conference.
Okay. Phoenix?
Phoenix is one, and now the team that he finished his career with.
Is it? I think I know who it is now.
Throw it out there.
Is it the Clippers?
It is not the Clippers.
I didn't know if Doc brought him in at the end.
Nope.
Again, after he was washed up with the Celtics.
Is it San Antonio?
The Golden State Warriors.
I was thinking about that.
All right, so Jermaine O'Neal. Benjamin, you're off to a hot start.
Yeah, alright.
All right.
I'm
so
only
now
concerned with one game.
We are on to our list.
Top 50?
It is 50.
Alright.
It is 50.
Top 50.
Let me get some paper. I am sticking with the common theme here of the show of what our most important topic was. This is the top 50 scorers in the history of the NBA.
I feel like we already had this.
We did playoffs.
Okay.
So this is regular season.
This is just all-time scoring. Yep.
Alright.
So, Brett, or Ben, since you won, do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Number 1.
Larry Bird.
Larry Bird is on this list. I don't know what number he is. Larry Bird, where are you? 32.
Cutting it close. Michael Jordan.
Number 4.
Kobe Bryant.
Number 3.
LeBron James.
Number 7.
Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce is on here, number 15.
Oh my goodness. Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson.
Uh-oh. What?
He's on that list. He has to be on that list.
No. He's not.
Richie's just overlooking him.
I don't think he's on here.
I'm just gonna look up Magic Johnson.
Yeah, find out how many career points he has, because I didn't see him.
Is it under Irving Johnson? Or...
That's what I was looking for, was Irving.
Magic Johnson.
Well, I screwed up.
How many points, Brett?
I'm getting there. Well, I guess he only tallied 17,707.
He was 2,000 points short of making this list.
Wow. Well.
So Brett, if you get this one wrong,
we're not going with you get a strike. Didn't we go with you got one strike
since
last
Ben
week?
gave me
Okay.
3 strikes.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, you got like 9 strikes last week, I thought. But
So Brett,
John Havlicek.
John Havlicek is on this list. 16.
All right. Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaquille O'Neal's 8.
This might be a dumb one to throw out there, but I think he's got to be close to the bottom. Kevin Durant.
KD. KD.
No.
That is strike number 1 for Brett.
All right.
KD is not on this list.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Hakeem Olajuwon, number 11.
Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan is on this list. Number 14.
Dirk Nowitzki.
Dirk is number 6.
Oscar.
Number 12.
Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt is number 5. So we have the whole... Oh, no, you don't have the top 5 done. I lied.
Is the top 5 including a Celtic?
No.
No.
You're missing the number 2.
Whoa, no hints. Come on.
I was just... I can't remember who... missing number 2.
Number 2. I think Ben's got it. I saw the face he made when I...
I'm trying to...
I think Ben's got it.
Who else do I want to throw out there?
A lot of Hall of Famers on this list.
Well, I would hope so.
A lot of current players too.
A lot of current players?
Yeah, I'm just writing guys down. I know, like...
Is Tony Parker on this list? No?
Is that a strike 2 for you, Brett?
That's strike 2.
Yep. No Tony Parker.
Charles.
I will. Here's what I will tell you. So that just so you guys can kind of process it. 19,000 points is the bottom.
All right. Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley is on here. I gotta find him. I think he's on here. Yes, 26.
Ray Allen?
23.
Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Garnett is on here. He's like right by Paul Pierce, I thought. 17.
You know, I'm not very good at this game.
You have a lot of names to pick from here, Brett. A lot of names.
I do. Bill Russell.
He should be. Yeah, he's got to be.
So I just got to find it.
If Bill Russell's not on here, I'm walking out and this show's over.
Bill Russell. You might have to look that one up.
Bill Russell.
Not seeing Bill Russell, fellas.
So is that strike 3?
How many times? Yeah, but you gotta remember, how many years did Bill Russell play in the ABA, though, too?
I'm going home.
No.
He only
Celtics
scored
aren't ABA.
14,000 points.
Celtics aren't ABA. He only scored 14,000?
That's what it's saying, 14,552.
Before you go home, can I just see how much I can get?
Yeah, keep going, Ben.
Scottie Pippen.
Scotty. Scotty, I know, is really close. I don't know.
Oh, he's gotta be top 50. Or else I'm going home.
Looks like you're going home, too.
God dang it. I had so many guys.
I don't see Scotty.
Too. Reggie Miller.
Reggie's on here.
Dwayne Wade.
19.
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade is on here. 34.
Julius Erving.
Dr. J.
Oh, I know who's in the top. Karl Malone.
Karl Malone is number 2. So you're still missing 2 of the top 10.
Patrick Ewing.
Patrick Ewing is 21.
George Gervin.
George Gervin is on this list. 38.
Jerry West.
Jerry West is 20.
Elgin Baylor.
What's that?
Elgin.
Never mind.
Elgin Baylor.
Oh, okay. Elgin Baylor. 29.
James Worthy. God dang it! Just when you think you got him.
I had to go back up to the top. I started halfway and then went down. Not seeing James Worthy.
Ugh. All right.
All right. So do we want the list? All right.
Yeah.
So Kareem, Malone, Bryant, Jordan.
Just tell us the names we didn't get.
Oh, okay. Number 9, Moses Malone.
Yeah, I had him.
Number 10, Elvin Hayes.
Oh,
Number 13, Dominique Wilkins.
Oh, crap.
You guys got Duncan, got Pierce, Havlicek, Arnett. Number 18, Alex English.
Oh, man.
Reggie Miller, Jerry West, Patrick Ewing. Number 22, Vince Carter. Number 24, Allen Iverson.
Oh,
Number 25, Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, I knew he was going to be on there.
Brett, you were naming every Boston Celtic in the book. Number 27, Robert Parrish.
Oh.
Yeah.
Number
You know how much
28.
it's with KD? KD
What's
is
that?
80 points away from being top 50. 80 points.
That's a heartbreaker. Number 28, Adrian Dantley. Number 30, Clyde the Glide.
I had him on the list.
31, Gary Payton. 33, Hal Greer. 35, Walt Bellamy. 36, Bob Pettit. 37, the Admiral, David Robinson.
Crap.
39, Mitch Richmond.
Yeah.
Number 40, not in the Hall of Fame, Tom Chambers. Number 41, the most random name on this list, Antoine Jameson. Number 42,
Weird.
Joe Johnson.
Really?
Number 43, Pau Gasol.
Wow.
Number 44, John Stockton. Number 45, Bernard King. 46, another might be the second most random name on this list, Cliff Robinson. 47, Walter Davis. 48, former Buck, Terry Cummings. 49, another former Buck, Bob Lanier. And Eddie Johnson. It was number 50.
I'm glad I didn't guess Jason Kidd.
All right. So, Ben,
You only missed by 250 points with Scotty.
I
if we would have done this list like 2 years ago, Scotty would have been on there.
Yeah.
But because active players, there's so many active players on this list,
Yeah.
and guys that are getting close.
Well,
they're surpassing.
I mean, guys like, not just KD, but Westbrook, Harden.
Right. Those guys are going to be getting to that point really soon.
Yeah.
Jamal Crawford's over 18,000 points.
Really?
Pretty good career.
I know Dwight Howard's around 15.
Yeah. Jason Terry and Tony Parker are the second and third highest active players that aren't in the top 50. So after Durant. 59 is Jason Terry, 60 is Tony Parker. Both with 18. Terry's at 18,715. Parker's at 18,522.
So they're both within 500 points of making that list.
Yeah. So next year,
yeah,
Cliff Robinson could be not on the list anymore.
Right. Ben, do we have our Law and Order?
Yes. Go ahead and say.
For the debates. Here we are.
No. What is the game called?
I don't remember.
Make your case.
Make your case. There you go.
Make your case.
All right.
Wow, you're the
Automatically just failed game
least
week.
exciting
You can't
host.
remember the name of the game.
All right. Well, Ben, since you have won both games,
Okay.
would you like to start or pass on to Brett to go to?
What are you talking about?
You gotta.
Oh yeah, never mind.
It's whoever
never
answers
mind.
first.
Never mind. My apologies.
All right.
Most of these are any sport.
Okay.
And I'll specify the ones that are. So, the first question: when should athletes be allowed to turn pro?
What sport?
Any sport.
Very.
After 3
Interesting.
years.
3 years, Brett?
Is it, well, can I clarify? Is that after 3 years of college or just 3 years out of?
3 years of anything. 3
Okay,
years.
so
college.
3 years. So what
red,
the NFL?
Redshirt sophomore or true junior.
I'll say after high school graduation.
Okay. So Ben, you'll go first since you got the answer first. Just pulling up the good old stopwatch. All right, here we go. 20 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, essentially after 3 years of college, most guys are going to be 21 years old, and that's kind of the age of people becoming an adult. And I think by that age, they have enough maturity to be responsible for themselves so they can go out and earn millions of dollars, and they won't waste it all.
There is no point in having a kid waste 3 years of his life going to college if he doesn't want to take the education as a valuable thing. Letting them go right out of high school will allow them to either succeed or fail in their sport at that respective age. Multiple sports around the world have their best players at a young age, like golf and tennis.
Okay, Ben?
The NCAA and pro leagues have such a good relationship. If it was going right out of high school, the NCAA would be doomed, and you'd have a bunch of immature guys running around in Corvettes. You don't want that.
Corvettes. All right.
Looking at the NBA and NFL, you have enough people that went to college that still have no idea how to live life correctly. I don't think going to college benefits those players at all.
Okay. Yeah, Brett, you basically just stated that people don't want to go to college.
Mhm.
And
better
Ben
reason
is
to let them turn pro?
Ben is worried about maturity, which I think is a huge issue. With a lot of these players. Ben, I like what you were saying about how you're giving them the resources to mature. So for that, I'm going to go with Ben because he clarified as to the reason why. So
right.
The reason he wants them to go to college is so they can have those resources. Brett, you just want to throw them into the world with nothing to make a change. You were talking about an issue, a problem with no solution.
Hey,
had you created a solution saying, hey, at 18, anybody's allowed to go to work, I mean, that's your solution. It's our right as Americans. But you had a problem with no solution. So
I should have just said, if you can serve this country, you can play a professional sport.
yeah, even that would have been a better answer. So I got to go with Ben on that one. He had a problem and he solved it. So question number 2: any sport, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever it is, the best athlete under 6 feet tall.
Ooh. I don't know heights.
Is Drew Brees is 5'11", right? Or is he?
He's under 6 foot.
He's under 6 foot.
I'm gonna go.
So you can go with Drew Brees.
Trying to think here. See, I don't know heights.
Darn it! I should have went with somebody else.
I'm trying to think here.
Am I allowed to change my answer?
That's up to Ben. Ben's the creator here.
I have to state mine first, and then you can change it.
Okay. Because all I was gonna say, Ben could just take yours if that's the way
fine.
that is.
I'm trying to think here. Russell Wilson.
Cut.
Okay,
Correct.
I'm gonna
Did you
go
still-
Nate Robinson.
Nate Robinson. Okay. Wow, that's intriguing. Neither one of you picked Allen Iverson, but okay, here we go.
Wait! You didn't say in history.
I said best athlete under 6 foot.
You gotta say
Nate Robinson's
current or
not
history.
playing in the NBA though.
He's in
He's
the
still
D-League.
playing professionally.
Yeah.
I guess I would have anticipated.
I would have gone Joe Montana.
Joe Montana's under 6 foot.
100%. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought he was bigger
Okay.
than that.
Oh my gosh. See, you gotta say current or history.
Oh, I thought I said best athlete ever under 6 feet.
I didn't hear
Joe
ever.
Montana is 6'2".
Joe Montana?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm going Russell Wilson. How?
All right.
I want to hang on. I want to see.
So we'll change it to best current. Wilson, I know, is under 6 feet tall.
All right.
So we have Nate Robinson versus Russell Wilson. All right. So Ben, you won the last one. You can start us off.
No, it's whoever states their answer first, which would
Be Brett.
That's
Brett.
No.
Well,
He
you.
changed
That
his
would be
answer.
you.
He
I
changed-
changed my answer, so
I'm gonna go first. How about that?
Correct.
All right. Russell Wilson has proved himself already in just a couple years in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl, he was in another one, and he is probably the most athletic quarterback in the league. And above all that, he is an incredible leader, and he's way mature over his age. I mean, he's a 30.
Nate Robinson has the athleticism of a player twice his size. He may not be the greatest player on his team, but he is one of the best athletes of all time. Participating in dunk contests at 5'6", being able to dunk over people, using his size to go under people. Nate Robinson is one of the best.
Nate Robinson has great athleticism, but there's so much more than that to be an athlete. To be an athlete, it's all about playing in the sport. There's leadership. There's so much more intangibles.
If you look at the definition of athlete when recruiting a football player, it is somebody that has athleticism, and Nate Robinson is the face of athleticism.
I'm sorry. Oh my gosh! Wow. Ben just ended your life right there, Brett.
Wait, so you're going to me?
The definition of athlete is not the best player.
But, I mean, come on. Come on.
You already said you picked him. I'm just saying, athlete does not mean you're a great player.
No, I mean,
Josh
you can
Jackson
be. Okay, I'm with you. You can be a great athlete and not be the best player, but there is more to being an athlete than how high you jump and how fast you run.
Yes.
It depends on your definition.
I think
What
if
is
you
the
said
definition
best
of
player
athleticism?
under 6 foot with the most athleticism, it'd be Nate Robinson.
Or Iverson or whatever, right?
When I think athlete, I think explosive, flashy. I don't think
I got you.
he's a great leader. That doesn't make you a great athlete.
So that was a
Semantics.
poorly worded question.
Yeah, you gotta pay attention to
Because
semantics.
Tom Brady's not a great athlete. Tom Brady is a
Right.
great player.
Right.
Right.
So maybe maybe in the future word that best player.
Yeah, there you go. All right. We don't do hypotheticals, right? Or do we?
We can.
We can.
I mean,
okay.
he did. Who would win a MVP? There was two people that had no chance of winning
right.
MVP.
Okay.
Whatever.
So the hypothetical is, what current athlete would be the best player at another sport?
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like J.J. Watt to the NBA or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be.
I'm gonna go Mike Trout to the NFL.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Jeff Samardzija to the NFL.
Okay. So Brett, since you said it first, we will go with you.
Mike Trout is built like an everyday NFL player. He has the body and the tools. He can throw, he can catch, he can run, he can jump, he can play any position in the NFL. He just chose to play baseball.
All right, Ben. Tough one to beat here.
Yeah, that sounds great and all, but I have no idea how he plays in pads. We know how Jeff Samardzija plays with a football helmet and pads. He was one of the best receivers in the nation at Notre Dame, and truly being a wide receiver in college, if you're good in college, you're good in the NFL. Jeff Samardzija could have been good in the NFL. He just went after the money by being an MLB pitcher.
Brett.
Being good in college football does not guarantee anything, as we've seen most times. Players that have elite athleticism and the build to play football could transfer like Mike Trout.
John Cena has a lot of athleticism, but I wouldn't want to put him in a football field. I'd rather have Jeff Samardzija.
Speaking of it, I just want to throw this out there. John Cena was an All-American football player in college.
He was, that's true.
So I just want to throw that out there.
That's true. But, I mean, he was like, what, D3?
Yeah, D3 All-American. Hey, you knocking D3 football, Ben? I'll change this conversation real quick.
I'm not.
I'm just kidding. Brett, I understood where you were going, but not enough fact. When he said, I mean...
Oh, well, okay, it's hard to beat a player that could have played in the NFL if he wanted to.
No,
I guess I could have said Russell Wilson in the MLB, but I don't think.
See, my first thing I was thinking Antonio Gates, the NBA.
Right, and initially writing the question, my thought was LeBron James in the NFL as a tight end.
Could have said Tim Tebow to the NBA.
Or you could have said Tim Tebow in the major leagues.
Hey, he'll be with the Mets in September. Just watch.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just
but yeah, like you said, it's hard to bet against what, I mean, Ben picked a player that was an All-American and the best player at another sport.
I love Jeff Samardzija. One of my favorite players.
Ben, if you take one more, it is a clean sweep of 4-0. You are up 3-0 currently. Okay?
All right.
Now, I'm going to try to word this question correctly. So we have an NHL team and an NFL team going to Las Vegas. Okay? So any sport, you can pick the sport. You can say, I'm doing this for football or basketball, baseball, whatever it is. What sport going to another city, what would be the best fit of a new team? If that makes sense.
No, you don't have
to... Does it have to be a new city, or can it be a city that teams have left?
It could be a city that teams have left.
Does it have to be a specific team relocating?
So if you say, hey, it would be smart for the NFL to go to San Antonio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would be an example.
I'm gonna go MLB back to Montreal.
Okay.
I'm gonna say the NBA in St. Louis.
Okay. Brett, you answered first, so you're gonna go first.
Montreal continues to prove that they love baseball each and every year, selling out games in a half hour for the preseason of all things with the Toronto Blue Jays. 56,000 people strong each game. Montreal still has a desire to support a Major League Baseball team.
Okay. You have another 5 seconds, but okay. Ben?
Yeah.
After the Rams left St. Louis, there was kind of a hole left in the city, and they are diehard Blues fans, diehard Cardinals fans. They want to support another team. It's perfect for the NBA. The NBA in the Midwest is absolutely incredible. You have diehard fans, such as the Bulls in Chicago or the Pacers in Indiana. St. Louis can have a team just like that.
St. Louis is and always will be a baseball town. The Cardinals come first. Montreal has the Canadiens, but have also been a diehard baseball town since the Expos have been there and left.
Montreal is way more of a hockey town than St. Louis is a baseball town. St. Louis is a sports town, so they're going to want sports. They want basketball. Slam dunk!
Stop. you may... That was tough.
Did I pack up now?
What's that? No,
pack up now.
Because your first argument, I thought your first argument was better, and then Ben's second argument was better until he emulated the stack.
Oh no, that was just.
Oh, I know. I know.
I had nothing left to argue. I had time.
I know, because your second argument was better than his second argument, but his first argument.
But don't knock me on the slam dunk thing.
No.
Okay.
That's what I said. Your second session there was better than his, but his first was better than your first initial one. Oh man!
Don't knock me on the excessive celebration.
No, I'm gonna go with Brett for the sole reason of the fact that Montreal is doing everything that they can currently to lure baseball back. You talked about the Rams leaving. There is a hole there, but St. Louis is a very, very, very pro baseball city. There hasn't been basketball in Los Angeles for a long time, probably for a good reason.
In Los Angeles?
St. Louis. What?
You said there hasn't been basketball in Los Angeles.
Oh, I said Los Angeles. I'm sorry. St. Louis. But Montreal is still not compete, but they're hosting baseball games to prove, similar to what the Brewers did as to why a team should be there. And they're trying to get that back, whereas St. Louis hasn't expressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if
I should have thrown out. I wanted to throw out one stat, but I didn't know the exact number. St. Louis last year in St. Louis had the lowest average attendance in the NFL.
Really?
Yes, below Minnesota playing at TCF.
Well, but I think that they were really bad that year though too.
Yeah.
Usually winning and ticket sales go hand in hand.
Edward Jones Dome sucks.
Yeah, true that. Okay.
If you're a sport city, you support the team regardless of how bad they are.
You got the point.
So Ben is up 3-1. Okay. This is a current. It's a current, okay. But it's basketball and football. Which college coach should take their abilities to the pro level? Or which college coach would be the best pro coach at this point?
Jim Harbaugh.
Okay.
Coach K.
Okay. Ben, we will start with you.
Really, ever since he got to Michigan, there's been talk of Jim Harbaugh returning to the NFL because he was a good coach for the 49ers. The only reason he left San Francisco is because he had creative differences between him and Trent Baalke. Jim Harbaugh's a fantastic coach, and he's proven it on both levels. Coach K has been at Duke forever. If he left Duke...
Coach K is the best college basketball coach of all time. And coaches the Olympic team, so he already has the experience winning on the professional level. mixing college players along with professional athletes, he would be able to seamlessly transition to the pro game where basketball is easier transitioning from college to professional athletes.
Okay, you were just short of your time. Ben?
Jim Harbaugh won in the NFL with 2 different styles of quarterbacks, and with Coach K coaching the Olympics, yeah, I would have won a gold medal coaching LeBron and Kobe too.
Brett?
I need Coach K's style of basketball translates to all levels, and the respect that the players would have for him would work regardless of the talent around him. He would be able to find success and win.
Stop. What set you two apart was one thing that I felt made the case was something that makes both of them great coaches, but separates them as well. Coach, you talked about Coach Krzyzewski with the Olympic team. Coach K gets to pick those players. Now, Harbaugh gets free agency and the draft, but it's not guaranteed that Harbaugh gets to pick who the top players are every single year. Or going into a game, he can't say, "Well, I want these guys because they're the best in the league." And to me, that was what gave it to Ben.
Woo!
Because
I'm out.
Yeah.
Because
Hold on a second.
you talked about his ability to coach at the pro level because he coached the Olympic team.
No, my question is, you're adding to Ben's argument from something that Ben didn't even really argue that Coach Harbaugh picked his.
But you opened up the door when you said Coach K would be a great coach because he coached the Olympic team. Coach K gets to pick those players.
That's not my point. My point is, Ben, you're supposed to look at our debate, not what you think. It's what we said. Ben didn't say anything.
I'm going off of what you said.
Yeah, but not what Ben said.
Ben said that he won with 2.
Yeah, I said he won with 2 different styles of quarterbacks. He didn't get to choose Alex Smith.
You didn't say that Coach K picks all his play. Like, yeah, you said Bryant and Jordan, but I just don't look at it as. I think you're adding to his argument. I mean, I would probably go with Harbaugh as well, but I just think you added points that I must have not heard, but I didn't think I heard him say those things.
No, because at the end, Ben said, he said Coach K coaching the Olympics.
Or LeBron.
No, he said specifically about how Coach K gets LeBron, Carmelo, and Kobe.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be Coach K picking his players?
Not necessarily.
I think Colangelo.
Maybe that's where I'm having the
Colangelo.
Either way,
players, not Coach K. I basically all I was saying is Coach K is working with all the talent in the world.
And
I could win if I coached them.
I get that. Yes. The way you said it makes it seem like...
That's right. That's where I was giving the edge, was that he was...
than what Ben said.
I just wanted to make sure we're going off the argument.
Like Ben said, he has the talent. You were saying that Coach K gets to pick the players when that's not really what Ben said. I guess it's the way
I meant it in the way that he gets the players that. I mean, basically.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm just it's just the way it is. I mean,
we can.
No, we're good.
We can do this as 0 and go back 3-1 and. Move on.
I was just wondering.
No, I get you.
I clarified.
I get you 100%. Like,
makes more sense.
Yeah.
Now that you clarified what you were saying,
right,
to start with.
Right.
I was just confused.
My wording was not perfect.
All right. Well,
do you guys want the last 2 questions?
Let's just hear them.
Current, any sport, best non-American athlete.
Didn't we do that? 2 weeks ago?
Did we do that one?
I thought I
Yeah,
threw that
you
out.
asked that one.
I did ask that.
Yeah.
And NBA ever, the best player who has not won an NBA championship.
NBA.
Yeah.
Well, that got rid of my answer. Would have been Kevin Durant 2 weeks ago, 3
Yeah,
weeks ago,
I mean,
whatever it
probably
was.
Westbrook or Harden.
Yeah, because
Or
you got Karl
53.
Malone, John Stockton.
Oh, all time.
Carmelo.
All time.
Yeah, all time. It was an all-time question.
Carmelo, I'd
Shot.
throw in.
Melo,
Did
Charles Barkley.
AI didn't win one, did he?
AI never won one.
Yeah, a lot of choices there.
Good question.
Right. The misery of my game hosting is over.
Okay.
We're not very good at this.
No. It's fine. You're getting there. Why do you think I invented this game? Because I'm good at it. No. Okay. Because it's semantics. That's the thing. Okay. From now on, let's agree that when we say athlete, same definition as player.
Right.
And if we want to talk about athleticism, we
Use
say
it.
player with
You say
most
athleticism.
athleticism.
Right.
Because I totally get that confusion. I totally understand that.
Right.
But Richie, you're fired. So next week.
Can I say that this doesn't come as a shock?
Yeah. All right. Well,
My game hosting duties have been revoked.
you can do a show with Malcolm Brogdon for all I care. No.
I hear hate in your voice.
No. That's fake hate. That's sarcasm. Well, anyways, that's our show. We're done. We're out of here. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Remember to go on our website, YouTube channel. Got a new show, Pack Attack Weekly. Hope you tuned in if you're a Packers fan. If not, that's okay too. But yeah, just keep in touch. We got a lot of videos coming out. So see you guys next week.